the black market. With us now, Jason Oxman, CEO of the Electronic Transactions Association, and John Ulzheimer from CreditSesame.com. Welcome to you both. Jason, I'm going to start with you. People are hopping mad about this, and they're blaming Target. Are they right to blame the retailer?
Well, Gerri, there's no question. This is a devastating criminal behavior that is disruptive at a bad time of year. But we need to get a couple of things, I think, on the table to start the conversation. First of all, consumers have no liability at all, zero liability for any fraudulent activity that they discover on their credit card accounts. The second thing I think we need to get on the table is that Target was the victim of criminal activity and that there's a law enforcement investigation underway. We need to figure out exactly what went wrong, what happened. But at bottom, the most important thing for consumers is the network is designed to protect them against fraud liability, and we'll be okay.
Well, maybe we won't be okay, Jason. I got to tell you, I think consumers are rightly worried that the exposure doesn't stop at what they get on their charges on their credit card. John, what do you say? Consumers are, let me read you an email from a consumer. The company Target is giving people 10% off. And here's what one person says. 10% off is BS. As my shopping is done, 10% is hardly going to make anyone feel better about the potential damage that can be caused by this breach. John, what do you say? Should people feel whole?
Well, I certainly don't think people should feel whole. 10% off is kind of, in my mind, a meaningless offer. Trying to convince people to go back into the store that just exposed their information for a full 19 days. Maybe if you're shopping with cash.
I counted 22, my friend.
Yeah, well, Black Friday through December 15th, right? So it's still too long.
I think they came out the 17th. Yeah, well, it's close, right?
So it doesn't matter. If it was 1 day or 19 days or 22 days, it's still immaterial because so many people's information was exposed. And while you may not have liability thanks to some federal statutes, the problem is, especially in the debit card environment, is you don't get your money back immediately, and that's money that's your money that's supposedly in there to cover other transactions like rent, gasoline, hotels, and travel over the holiday season. Now you have to argue with your bank to get it back. Even though you're going to get it back, it's not going to be immediate.
Jason, some folks are saying, why didn't they cancel those red cards? Listen to this email. Why were compromised red cards not immediately canceled, forcing any red card holder to waste days trying to cancel it? And pardon me, this is from Target's Facebook page. Wouldn't that have been a better choice?
Well, I can't speak to Target's decision, but I would say that if a consumer is concerned about their card data being compromised, a great thing to do is contact your card issuer, whether it's Target or another of the 7,000 financial institutions that issue credit and debit cards in the country, and cancel the card proactively, and you'll get a new one in the mail. There's no question this is disruptive, and it causes a lot of uncertainty for consumers, but the bottom line is there is no liability for consumers. That's the way the system is set up to protect them.
Jason, come on. I mean, you could have your identity stolen at any time. Not this week, not next week. It would create a headache for you for years. So the liability doesn't end with something charged on your credit card this week. That's not the issue. The issue is, what risk have you put these people at? 40 million Americans. Why are we still dealing with this magnetic strip? Why don't we upgrade to the kinds of technology they have in Europe, which seems to be a better protection for consumers?
Yeah, there's no question that this criminal enterprise must have been very sophisticated to get all this data from Target. And obviously, I don't speak for Target, so I would share the concern of consumers about this data breach. It's important to remember, you mentioned the issue of identity theft. Of course, the only information disclosed, as far as Target has told us, was the actual account number information, not any more identifying information than that.
No PIN numbers.
Again, that no PIN numbers for debit, and that's important as well. And, you know, as we all know, federal law and card policies provide protection for consumers. I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, but here we are, John, in the middle of the Christmas holiday season, and people are being told that the best thing to do is cancel their credit card. How well does that go over?
It doesn't go over well, because think of all the things that are auto-debited or auto-billed against a credit or debit card. Banks are going to probably be open for half the day tomorrow. They're closed on Wednesday. And trust me, you're worried about other things starting on December 26th than getting a new card in the mail. That's the problem, is the timing of this. And I don't know if that was by design by the hackers, but the timing of it could not have been worse.
Well, Jason, to you, I asked you before, why don't we use a better technology? I don't think you answered the question. Why don't we use a better technology? They exist.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. There is a technology. It's called EMV. It refers to the chips that are sometimes found in cards as opposed to the magnetic stripe that's prevalent here in the U.S. We're actually in the process of migrating to those chip cards here in the U.S. It's going to take a long time.
Jason, you say it's going to take a long time. It's obviously very expensive. But given the kinds of situations consumers have found themselves in over the last few years, wouldn't it be smart? Wouldn't it show leadership for one of these retailers, for the system to actually say, you know what? We're going to meet that deadline early. We're not waiting to 2015. We're going to protect our consumers. We're going to make sure that they don't get ripped off. Wouldn't that make sense?
I wouldn't be surprised at that. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. It is important to remember that this breach that we're talking about here with Target had nothing to do with the type of technology that was on the cards. But well, you're absolutely right going forward that there is additional protection in the network from the chips in the cards.
That's a good point. And one of the issues that I've had all along with this is a real-world theft. You know, we've gotten to the point with thefts on the web where we kind of shrug our shoulders and go, say, whatever, it happens all the time. But this actually happened in the stores. And let me read to you what the Target CEO said, which I find troubling. He says that this was a crime against Target, our team members, and most importantly, our guests. He says, we're in this together. We're not in this together. It's the consumers who got ripped off here, John, right? I mean, look, the outrage is all for the consumers. They're the ones who are at risk here. They're the ones who could get their personal identity stolen. What, poor Target? Really? I don't think so. John.
Yeah, and to add the cherry on top, Gerri, is Target also announced that they're going to be buying credit monitoring for the people who have been victimized. And I can tell you that credit monitoring is absolutely 100% useless when it comes to debit card fraud and credit card fraud. Credit monitoring is meant to protect your credit report from true name fraud, meaning applying for credit in your name. Somebody using my debit card or somebody using my credit card does not set off an alert in a credit monitoring system. So I'm not exactly sure who they're trying to impress with free credit monitoring.
Interesting point. Jason, last word here. I'm desperate to see the CEO of Target come out in public and apologize for this. We saw his statement from late Friday. There was no apology in it. He offers the 10% discount. Thanks a lot. The horse is out of the barn. The problem's already been had. What do you say?
Well, I think the concern here is that consumers think that there's something wrong with using credit cards, and it's exactly the opposite. If somebody steals a $20 bill from me and goes out and spends that, I'm out that $20. If I see a $20 fraudulent account on my statement, I don't have to pay a cent. So I think it's important for us to restore faith in the system, restore faith in the consumer protections of the network.
To your very point, if somebody steals 20 bucks from me, my personal identity is not at risk. Just the 20 bucks. The total risk is far less if they steal cash from me than if they take my credit card or my debit card, where they could assume my identity and spend money all over the country and the world, and maybe I don't find out about it for a while. There's a bigger risk with credit cards. I think consumers are getting